Hey everyone, it's Allison from BrainPOP. Welcome to today's webinar with Vidcode and BrainPOP. So first of all, thank you for being here. It's like right in the heart of back to school time. Some people are probably already back in school and have been back in school. And some of you, this is like your last days of freedom before school starts. So we so appreciate you being here with us. Um, I was a classroom teacher for many years before I started working at BrainPOP, and I really miss being in the classroom at this time of year. So my heart is with you, and I feel surrounded by my people, and I am so appreciative of you taking your time to learn more about what we've got. We have Melissa as a special guest from our partners at Vidcode, and I'm going to introduce you to her in a few moments. Thanks for being here with us, Melissa. So here's what we've got planned today. I'm going to just give you a little bit of background on how BrainPOP got into computer programming and coding, and then hand it over to Melissa to give you a little background on Vidcode. Then we are all going to set up quick student accounts using my BrainPOP, our individual account system. And I'm going to have you join my class, which will allow you to jump right in and explore one of the coding projects. We'll spend probably 5 to 10 minutes doing that, just kind of getting our toes wet. And you'll leave this webinar knowing exactly how to access all of this so you can play around more in depth. So it's okay if we don't finish projects today. Then we'll kind of debrief together as a group, tackle any barriers, brainstorm solutions for anything that you anticipate being problematic, and I'll make sure to share all of our support materials and save time for Q&A at the end. I hope that sounds good to everybody. So a little background on how this came about. This is a brand new tool, creative coding, that we launched at ISTE this past year at the very end of June. But it's a project that's been in the works for over a year. And we saw the importance of computational thinking and computer programming. But as a typical third grade teacher like myself, who understands that coding and computer programming is important, and we're hearing so much about it. And I know, Jillian, it's already mandated in the UK as part of the curriculum. I expect that it will hit across the US nationally as a requirement soon enough. And I know there's a good handful of states that continues to expand that has it as a requirement. But as a teacher like me who is even tech savvy but never had any proper coding background, I wouldn't be sure how to weave this into what I'm already doing with my students, on top of everything else that I'm responsible for teaching. So what we've done is we discovered Vidcode. We were very lucky that they agreed to partner with us because we think they take a fantastic approach and have a very kid-friendly tool. And we are weaving coding into the curriculum with a project-based approach. Now, BrainPOP is not linear, but learning to code is linear. So we're trying to bridge the two, and creative coding provides a light introduction to coding that hopefully lets you expose students to this and will hopefully spark interest in yourselves and other colleagues and certainly students to dive deeper. So these projects that we're going to share with you can take anywhere from 1 to a couple of class periods to complete. We'll show you in a moment that they integrate BrainPOP art assets, so kids can be coding using characters that they know and love. And hopefully, this will be our way of getting educators and kids to think about using coding as a means of showing what you know, or self-expression. So a creativity tool that you could use just like you would having kids design a poster or a slideshow or a diorama at the end of a unit, as a way of culminating a topic and showing their level of expertise. So I am going to turn it over to Melissa. One moment. And Melissa is going to give us a little background on Vidcode.
Thank you, Allison.
Mm-hmm.
This is Melissa. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you to Allison and the BrainPOP team for inviting me to be a part of this webinar. We are so excited to be partnering with BrainPOP on this creative coding tool. And I know many of you, or all of you, I should say, are very familiar with the wonderful work that BrainPOP does. And I think a small sliver of you might know the work that Vidcode does. I actually recognize a couple of names from teachers who I'm familiar with from working with independently. So really excited to meet many new faces. Hi, May. I see a smiley face from May. So for all the rest of you, I'll just give you kind of a quick overview of really what our mission is and how this kind of aligns to the work that BrainPOP has always been doing and is really focused on today, which is giving kids a chance to really be creators. Excuse me. And that means, there's so much amazing, rich content that BrainPOP has always offered, and now they're just providing even more tools for kids to be able to be really active participants, to be able to show what they know, which is a great way for us to partner, because at Vidcode, we're really all about giving kids an accessible and engaging way to really be creators of technology. We all know how many of our students are so active in consuming technology, and especially the kinds of things that we focus on at Vidcode, which are really media centric activities. So they're consuming video, and they're on Instagram, and all of these things that are super interesting and are actually really built with code. And so being able to make a connection for those students between these really kind of, again, hyper visual or media based apps that they're using, we're here to kind of say, there's something that you can create there. There's an opportunity for learning to be able to say, hey, if I can kind of see a meme, I can make a meme. And those are the kinds of projects that we've always designed with students' interests in mind. And so that's a lot of kind of our approach as far as making sure that our curriculum and our access to computer programming is really engaging and connected to the kinds of things that students are doing every day. We're really passionate about making sure that every single student has an opportunity to learn to code. And one especially important reason for that is we're actually a female-founded team, which is just a little trivia fact about Vidcode, but is something that is very important to us, and we really initially when we started our company, thought a lot about engaging young women, which is why we're really proud that a majority of our student base is female. But by no means is that exclusively who we're trying to reach. The idea there is just to make sure every kid, especially those that may traditionally have not been able to have access or have sort of been able to identify as a programmer, have a way to do that. And so that's a lot of what our work is and what our curriculum looks like, and a lot of the projects that we've collaborated on BrainPOP on, definitely are accessible to all of those audiences. So again, thank you all so much. I'll be back in a couple moments to walk you through the tool, but I will pass it back to Allison in the meantime.
Great. Thanks, Melissa. And she is going to walk you through what these projects actually look like and how to access them from a topic page.
So I'm going to take it from where Allison left off, and that is to kind of show you really what this whole creative tool looks like. So I've kind of pre-selected one of the topics that are available from the matrix of topics that you'll see once you're searching for the creative coding tool, which is angles. As Allison said, I'm a math lover, and so this seemed like an appropriate topic for me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click the creative coding tool here. So the next thing that we'll see are a couple of the different projects that we've curated for this tool on BrainPOP. And so I'll just quickly show you what they are by name. We've got the stop motion animation tool, the meme. We've got Doodle augmented reality, where students can actually draw on videos and sort of bring them to life. And then we've got the newscast. And as Allison said, it's really interesting because we want to create an entry point for all students in a non-linear way. So all of these projects are intended to be accessible as the very first project that a student does. Depending on the topic that they choose, they can choose any of the different projects that we see here. So I'm going to go ahead and select the meme topic the meme project under the angles topic that we've got here. So I'm going to allow the page to learn, and then just kind of walk you through the different elements within the page that are a part of the tool. And so starting at the top, I've got the prompt. And so this is really where kind of the magic synergy of Vidcode and BrainPOP kind of come together, which is at a topic level, all of the BrainPOP topics will allow students to create a coding project based on a prompt related to the topic. So since I chose the angles topic, I've got a prompt here that's letting me know that I'm going to create a meme that explains the difference between acute and obtuse angles. And so again, you can kind of see where this lines up as far as, this is something that is going to enable students to show what they know at a topic level, and also give them a chance to do a creative coding activity. Just to kind of go through the other parts of the interface, on the left here, we've got the instructions panel. So this again is where students are really going to be able to sort of self-drive their way through the activity, and it's going to let them know step by step what to do with really explicit instructions in purple. In the center here is what we call the code editor. And so, as Allison mentioned earlier, this is an opportunity for students to actually write their own code. So we're going to go a step beyond the drag and drop. It's a really nice bridge from the drag and drop coding environments you may be familiar with. But we're going to have students actually be writing text-based code. And then on the right here is where we're actually going to see the student projects, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. At the bottom here, we've also got different pieces of media that students can choose from. And so I'm going to start just by doing exactly what the instructions on the left tell me to do, which is the action of select a video on the right to begin. So I'm going to select the very first video that I've got here, which does a couple of things. You can see in the center, we've got a couple of lines of code that have automatically been populated. And on the right, we see that there's a video now that's playing. And so the videos are going to look really familiar to all the BrainPOP community, because they're really drawn from the characters and the culture that we know and love from BrainPOP. I'm just going to move through the tutorial, but just give you a kind of a snippet of what it is. As you can see here, we've got 20 steps. We're on the second of 20 steps. I won't go through all 20 today, but I'll just kind of give you a sense of how the tutorial is paced and how students navigate through it. Once again, I'll go back to those kind of explicit instructions in purple, which tell me to select the graphics tab under my video. So I'll go there, and to select a graphic I want to add. So I can kind of take a peek here at some of these pre-selected graphics that will kind of work well for my my angles meme. So I'm going to go ahead and just select the left arrow here. And again, you can see that now I've got another line of code that's added to my code editor, and has also added a visual element to my movie, which is this arrow that I'm going to use to kind of help make my message or depict what I'd like to depict in my meme. Again, I'm going to just kind of skip through some of the steps here, but this is, again, really where students are going to have the ability to begin to actually start writing their own code. So without any previous experience or knowledge of JavaScript, which is the language that we're building off of here, or any kind of text-based programming language, they're going to be able to actually learn step by step how to produce the results that we're looking for. And so you can see here, I can begin to start actually writing code that has a real effect on the screen. What I'm doing right now is moving my graphic of my arrow from one part of the screen to another. And I'm doing that by actually utilizing the text-based parts of the code that have been given to me. And that's something that I'm directed on and given instructions through the tutorial that we see on the left here. So again, no previous knowledge needed for the students. And as they're going through this, they're going to just get more and more adept at actually writing code. And so that's kind of the beauty of the various projects that are available at the many different topics, is that students get a chance to kind of rinse and repeat how this works. So a couple of things I can do here. I can move my graphic around. I'd actually like to resize it, which is an instruction that I'm given on the left-hand side right now. It's a little bit big, so based on the what I'm trying to depict in my project, I might want to make that a little bit smaller, and that's something that I'm able to do using the code. And so because I'm making a meme, there's a number of other things I can do. I can add text. I can kind of modify that text to sort of say what I'd like, or to vary the colors of it. And again, really using code to create a message and allow students to show what they know. So I'm gonna say here, let's see, it's a cute o'clock. So that's just my little attempt at a little mini meme here. It's 2 p.m. It's an acute angle. It's something, again, that I'm going to use as a way to utilize this vehicle of code in order to show what I know. And so as I move through the lesson, again, I know I'm going through it really quickly and skipping over steps, and don't worry, you're going to have a chance to go through this yourself in a moment, but really just want you to see kind of, again, the pacing of the tutorial, how students are actually directed to complete each step of the tutorial without any previous knowledge of coding. So we really want to be supportive in our language through the material, and also the resources that will be shared later on in the webinar to make sure that students are really set up for success. So I'm just going to do one last thing here, just as a touch. I'd like to make my my language stand out a bit here. Looks like I've got a small typo. So I just want to kind of highlight my message in my project about acute angles. So I'm going to fix my typo, and I'm going to give it this bright lime green color. So again, super fast, very rapid pace. Please appreciate it, again, that I wish I could spend all hour with you all in coding projects, but I want to turn it over to you in a moment. But before I do that, I just want to kind of show you just a couple of the other components to what we've got here. At the end of a project, once a student has had a chance to really perfect their project, they've kind of delivered on what the prompt, again, at the top of the screen, has asked of them. They've had a chance to go through the tutorial, but also, again, have a chance to customize it a little bit. This is all about being creative. We'll give them a chance to do that. And once they're done, we've got a couple other options up here. One is to save their project, which is, as Allison said, these projects might take multiple course periods, class periods, in which case they can save a project and then come back to it later. So that will enable them to save their work in the state that it's in and revisit it later on. If they are at the end of a project and they're ready to submit it, then they can submit that to their teacher using this button on the right. One thing I actually forgot to mention, I'm just going to show you real quick here, is just this question mark, which is just a short video to sort of demonstrate how the tool works. And so these videos will be available on every project for all of the topics, and are essentially just a way to give you a quick overview of how the tool works, similar to what I did today. So I hope that was helpful. I know, again, it was super fast, but I hope it gives you an idea of what we're talking about when we talk about the creative coding tool, and again, how this can be another way for your students to show what they know on whatever topics are relevant and valuable to your teaching practice.
If you're not seeing creative coding option when you click on a topic, double check to see if you are logged in already. You should see yourself logged in over here in the upper right-hand corner. Kids can absolutely work on their projects at home after school hours. Christy, we're working on a link for sharing the projects, but we are super careful about privacy and quality and all of these things. So we're working on it, and feedback is very welcome. So Jennifer, you're having trouble with the creative coding tool not working through WebEx. So what I would recommend for anybody who's struggling with getting creative coding to work through WebEx is just open a separate BrainPOP window outside of WebEx. So I just opened a new tab on my computer. and I went to BrainPOP. I logged in. You can log in as a student or a teacher if you already have a teacher account, that's fine. And then do your search for creative coding and pick a topic. Teresa, if we have time at the end to review how to set up individual accounts, we definitely will. We're hoping to use the next 10 minutes or so for people to try this out. And then we're going to be doing, more Q&A. If we don't have time, this is the link to find those resources, and we share them with you in multi formats. So we have like a walkthrough PDF step-by-step guide. We have quick little videos that walk you through. Antonio just posted the link. Thanks so much. So that will provide you with everything you know. I'll also give my email address if anybody has any trouble. It's great to hear that people are having success on mobile. Barbara, that's thank you guys for all the feedback too. It's great. So Janet, Antonio will work with you on getting you logged in. You're gonna have to create your own username and password. And who just also had a comment? Barbara. So Barbara was saying this makes for a great hour of code activity. That's awesome to hear. My hope, our hope, is that this would also work outside of Hour of Code. So when I go and search creative coding, and I see I click on the view all 49 topics. If I am a math teacher, we saw we can integrate this when I'm teaching angles. If I am a fifth grade science teacher, fourth grade science teacher, I can integrate this into a study of seasons, or flight, or Pi and Pi Day, or dinosaurs, or Martin Luther King Jr., or digital animation, or Jane Goodall, or Amelia Earhart, or jazz. So it's a really diverse, purposely diverse list of topics that we're launching with. Then our plan is just to let these live, gather feedback from all of you, all of our users, see what kind of tweaks it needs, and then we will continue developing this tool and expanding what topics it's available on based on that feedback. So if you start playing around with this and you find that it's great and your students are enjoying it, I would love to hear all about it. So such a good point, Christy. So if you are in creative coding and you click on, I'm just going to get myself there, and I'll jump on and share my screen with you in a moment. But within any of the projects, we do have oh yay, Leanne, I'm glad to hear that. We do have a list of all the different code. So when you're looking in the left-hand panel of the Vidcode interface, you've got the Effects tab and a Need Help tab. And the Need Help tab is organized with a table of contents. And what we've seen in user tests is kids who say, well, I liked being able to do what the scaffolded instructions told me, but I actually want to add a star to this, or I want to make my text appear vertically instead of horizontally. So you can use that Need Help tab, and kids can look and search for all kinds of coding commands that they can include in here. So like Melissa said, this is really, that code editor, it's really a JavaScript editor. So you don't have to feel constrained to the directions that we're providing. Kids can go way above and beyond that. So yeah, Christy, when kids want to do their own thing, or if every kid is working at different paces. If you've got kids who've finished, you could even challenge them to go back in and add additional features or modify their code to do all these things. If you just click on that Need Help tab and you just kind of take a quick glance at the table of contents, you can see there's all kinds of ways to get more sophisticated with drawing and colors and timing and text and shapes. So there's a lot of fun opportunities in here. Yep, this is live. What I would recommend is that you create your own classroom for your students. Play around with this summer coding 17 class, but that's just a quick class that I made for myself for the purpose of this webinar, and it literally took me like 2 minutes. The the list of resources that Antonio posted earlier in the chat, and we'll post again, that walks you through how to set up the class just like I set up Summer Code 17. You can customize that code. So let's play around for another 2 minutes. I know I've been talking this entire time. I'm going to try to be quiet for a moment. We are working right now on polishing up mobile optimization. So it sounds like a lot of you are able to access this on tablets. Some people even mentioned they're doing it on their phones, which is really impressive. But this is definitely designed for at least, like an iPad or tablets that are bigger than an iPhone. Just because you're doing text-based coding, you need a keyboard. It's not ideal for kids to do on their phones. Christy, we do have in our educators resources tips for students that are English language learners, and I'm continuing to learn more and more about that by attending my own professional development resources. If you're interested, there's a woman named Maya Israel who's got some great ideas about that. If I missed anybody's question, if you don't mind typing it in again, I want to make sure I'm not leaving anyone hanging. And I think I said this, but we do have that list of the reference list of coding commands pulled outside of the tool in our BrainPOP Educator resources. Awesome, Barbara. I love the idea of reading the directions aloud. Melissa, I'm going to add that to our notes for following up and looking into that together. Like I mentioned earlier on, this is really geared for upper elementary students. It's clearly a text-heavy tool, but we are focused on expanding to a block-based tool as well. That is so impressive, Barbara, that you are on a plane doing this webinar. Yeah, Amy Lynn, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, if you've got one account right now for your whole school or your whole district, somebody else may have mentioned, you can still use this feature. You just need to get yourself set up with a My BrainPOP account. Did I explain that right, Antonio?
Yeah, it just won't show up.
Yeah. But if, for a school account or district account, they just need to get their teachers informed that they need to set up individual accounts. Yep. So everybody who has access to BrainPOP, all BrainPOP subscribers have access to all 50 topics. And I am not sure if I'm officially able to start talking about this or not yet, but keep an eye out for a new digital citizenship offering that we have that lets our anybody who is interested, even if you do not have a BrainPOP subscription, access to digital citizenship resources, and that will include creative coding. Oh, good. Jessica. I was just thinking, and maybe I will be in trouble for saying that. Great. So Jessica is in charge of that initiative, and she says that that is launching, I think she just said tomorrow, on September 6th. Cool. Jessica, if there is a landing page or more information on that, could you paste that into the chat box? And if not, if it's not shareable yet, if our landing page for it is not live yet, then just keep an eye out. So let's keep the Q&A going. I want to go back to sharing my screen with you and showing a couple other things, but let's get a little conversation going on debriefing for those of you who were able to spend a few minutes playing around with the tool. And apologies for the alarm going on in the background. I don't know if there's a fire alarm, but I'm keeping an eye out and I feel safe right now. So I know a lot of people already shared some great feedback about this. There's definitely been some technical difficulties that we are going to make sure we smooth out. We're curious to hear what specifically you are excited to try out. How would you weave this into what you're already doing? Are there specific topics um, that you feel like this would lend itself well to? Are there any barriers that you anticipate? Feel free to jump right into the chat box and share what your need, what you're excited to try, what kinds of needs you anticipate having, just kind of your what you're inspired to do with it. Excellent. Thanks, Karen and Peggy and May. Definitely, Christy. Cool. Yeah, this is great for an after school tech kind of club. Teresa, we are working on smoothing the experience out on iPads. So a lot of people, it sounded like today, used it successfully. We found there's a couple things we still need to polish up, but that's a top priority for us right now. Well, that's a cool idea, having it with an accelerated math group. Great. So keep these questions in mind and continue to debrief over the chat. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you again. Okay, they're making some kind of fire announcement, but I think we're okay. Sorry. Is everyone able to see my window? My screen? Great. Thank you guys. All right. So I just want to back up and remind you how to even get to this feature. First of all, from BrainPOP's homepage, we've got it on our rotation of new features. So you can see the creative coding projects. And if I click on that, it takes me to the creative coding landing page. I'm going to give you that link in the chat window. I can also, from the BrainPOP homepage, do what we all did earlier, which is search for creative coding. It will autofill. So I can go to the first result, creative coding, to see the list of all the topics, or about creative coding if I want some information to share with my colleagues or families outside of school. I think somebody was just asking about that. Remember that you can click here to see all of the topics and just kind of use a little bit of planning time to look and see what we offer right now that you're already teaching, and think about this as a way to tie into what you're already doing and not necessarily an extra thing that you need to add to your plate. Also, when I go search creative coding, the very first thing that shows up when I'm logged in as a teacher is our educator support resources. So I am going into actually, let me back up for just 1 second. Going to the About Creative Coding landing page. This is what I just posted in the chat box. And you can see a button right here, Teach with Code, Educator Resources. This will not pop up for you if you're logged in as a student. Here is the link to this particular page. Christy, what we found is, fourth graders were successful in this, but needed a little extra hand-holding, whereas fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, it was like totally independent, smooth sailing. So it really depends on your kids, just like everything with BrainPOP. In terms of the support resources that I just posted this link to, we've got everything from short videos as intros to each different project type, each of the 4 project types. We've got a step-by-step guide to getting started. We've got background information about each of the projects, more general things like the tips of